Miss George, let's start from the top. So tell us, where are you from? What side of Canton you represent?
So I grew up in Perry Township. That's
Okay.
where I grew up. But both my parents grew up in Canton City. So always as a kid coming downtown just seemed like something larger than life. And they had pretty diverse backgrounds. My dad grew up single mom, kind of struggling family all over. So his stories were always about the neighborhoods, and we lived here till we got evicted, and then we lived here, and then we lived, So like in the people, and he graduated from Lincoln. He was Lincoln class of 62, but played lots of sports, and he always talked about, so when we'd come downtown with Dad, he'd talk about, the people and all the places, and we'd come in, there used to be a restaurant down here called the Mayfair, and we'd come down and get breakfast on Saturday.
Nice.
It's like a bunch of old rough guys, but, they told the best stories, and it was so much fun. So, getting that experience from my dad, and then my mom, on my maternal side, my grandpa was a pretty prominent lawyer down here, so coming down to see him and seeing that gave a different perspective, like kind of the business and the different things that were going on in that way. So, but to me, all of it just seemed amazing. I have loved Canton for as long as I can remember, because it was such a special place and it felt like such an incredible place to be. So when I got to come to Canton, 8 minutes away from Perry Township.
So right down Tusk.
Just right down the road.
Yeah.
But it was really just, to me, it's always been a magical place. And so I've been working down here now for over 20 years, almost a little over 20 years now. And just, my opinion has only grown.
I've always loved that when we had different guests on who've experienced Canton in different time frames. And I always wonder, man, what did the city look like? Because I'm 35. So what do you remember about the early days, or what did downtown look like?
So I have two really solid memories that anchor kind of my feelings about Canton. So one, again, with my dad coming down and getting breakfast or lunch downtown and sitting at the lunch counter, and everybody knew everybody, right? Mm-hmm. You come in, hey, how's it going? How's it been? And laughing and telling stories. And there's always the old guys. It's always 10 old guys that have been retired. They've been sitting there. They showed up at 7 a.m, drinking coffee all day.
That's the McDonald's on Cherry right now.
It's the McDonald's now on Cherry. Doing that. So I just remember thinking what cool people, it was so cool. And there were little shops down here that, certainly were not like the mall. It was just very different. So I remember that, but I can remember coming downtown, having dinner, probably for a birthday or something, and eating downtown, and we were up high, and I was sitting, there was a little window well when I was a little kid, and sitting and looking out over the city, which just looked huge to me.
Wow.
The glistening, it was nighttime, and all the city lights were on, and looking down, and we might as well have been New York, or Chicago. To me, it was look at this great city I live in. But it was just amazing to me getting,
My grandma said that about Cherry. Cherry Street. When my grandmother moved here, she's down south, Dothan, Alabama. She said Cherry to her was like Chicago or New York, because there was so much to do on Cherry, a street that I just delivered the mail on. But now it's to know it was so much life in Canton, and I see it trying to go along with it now. But then, when you hear people say, "Oh man, Canton used to look like little New York, little Chicago," downtown.
And there were so many stores, and and all cities go through evolutions like that. I think where people talk about Stern and Mann's and the Sears that used to be down here, and Kresge's, and
Sears.
People remember all of these, there was a JCPenney's downtown, and everybody came downtown to shop. It was the thing you did. And so that has changed, as a kid, those stores were still open. I have a memory of coming down to the Stern and Mann's downtown. I was very small child, but, so it's changed. But it doesn't mean there's no longer any value. It was sad. I feel like when I looked back on that, if you could go back in time and just say, be more cautious when people said, oh, the cities will always be, nobody's going to move out. But then everybody started moving out to Belden, businesses moved out there, the shopping moved out there, the things. And I think maybe people didn't realize just how profoundly that was going to alter
I remember the
community.
We used to all go to Canton Center Mall. If you lived in this side.
That's the Camelot I worked at.
Yeah. That's when you said Camelot, I was like, okay, this Canton City. If you lived in the city, only time we used to go to Belden Village was Christmas. Mm-hmm. That's the only time we would go
I
out
love
there.
yeah, Millette Mall.
Yeah.
You young enough.
I was
Millette
too young.
Mall when
Yeah, I joined
yeah.
Canton Center.
And that's
You know?
that's
Yeah.
the worst time to go to Belton.
Yeah, the worst.
Oh, I
that's why
know.
we would go. That's the only time you go out of Belton Village was Christmas time.
Yeah.
In that area.
I avoid Belton like the plague year round.
It's so busy out there.
Yeah.
It's so there's so much traffic. There's so much going on. So yeah, it was. Yeah, so
So with all these things that you're involved in, like with the Canton Symphony, Downtown Canton Partnership, the Eric Snow YMCA when you worked there, like how do you balance such a wide range of commitments?
Well, for me, it kind of all comes down. It all comes down to community.
Yeah.
And like that's what drives my passion and always has. Working before I was at the Y, I worked downtown at a downtown church, Christ Presbyterian Church, for 18 years, doing community work through them. And for me, my level of involvement for things, it always comes down to what can I bring to it? Is there something I can add?
Right.
And what are they doing for the community?